I thought I was dating Sarah, but I was actually auditioning to be her family's full-time employee. My name is Mark. I'm 29, and I've been dating Sarah, who's 26, for almost a year. Things moved quickly in the beginning. We had an incredible connection, shared similar interests in hiking and trying new restaurants, and we started talking about a future together. I was head over heels. But the cracks started to show about 3 months in, when I realized that Sarah wasn't just one person. She came as a package deal with her entire, sprawling, and incredibly demanding family. Sarah is the middle child of 5. There's her older sister, Chloe, who is perpetually in some form of crisis, her older brother, David, who acts like he's too important to lift a finger, and her 2 younger twin brothers, Ethan and Liam, who are in college but seem to have the life skills of teenagers. Her parents, Barbara and Robert, are the ringmasters of this circus, summoning Sarah at a moment's notice for the most trivial things. Our plans became meaningless suggestions, constantly overridden by her family's whims. We had tickets to a concert I'd been looking forward to for months. Her mom called because the twins needed a ride home from a party an hour away, as their designated driver had bailed. Sarah left during the opening act, and I spent the show alone, my text to her going unanswered for hours. We booked a cozy cabin for a weekend getaway. Her sister Chloe had a meltdown because her boyfriend of 2 months broke up with her, and Sarah drove back that same night to be there for her, leaving me in the woods by myself. When I expressed my disappointment, Sarah looked at me with genuine confusion. "But she's my sister," she said, as if that explained everything. Family comes first. It wasn't just the canceled plans. It was the expectation that I would facilitate them. Sarah's car is a decade old and prone to stalling. So whenever a family emergency arose, which was at least twice a week, it was automatically assumed I would drive. I became the unofficial chauffeur for the Miller family. I'd driven across the city to pick up Robert's prescription because he had a headache, waited in the car for 45 minutes while Sarah helped Barbara choose curtains, and spent my entire Saturday afternoon helping David move a new couch into his apartment, only for him to offer me a half-hearted thanks man before closing the door. I felt like a utility, not a person. They never offered gas money, never invited me in for a coffee, never acknowledged that I might have my own life and plans. When I tried to talk to Sarah about it, she'd get defensive. "They love you. They're just comfortable around you," she'd say. It didn't feel like comfort. It felt like being taken for granted. The breaking point for me was on our anniversary. I had planned a special evening, a reservation at a beautiful, intimate restaurant on the waterfront, followed by a stroll along the pier. I'd even bought a necklace I knew she'd love. 10 minutes after our appetizers arrived, her phone buzzed. It was Chloe. Her cat had thrown up, and she was too distraught to clean herself. Sarah immediately started gathering her things. "Sarah, please," I said, my hand on hers. "It's vomit." Chloe is a 28-year-old woman. She can handle it. This is our anniversary. Her face hardened. "Mark, she's upset. The cat is like her child. I have to go. You just don't get it, do you? This is what family does." "That's just it, Sarah," I replied, my voice rising slightly. "I'm trying to be your family, but I'm always at the bottom of the priority list. It's always Chloe's cat, or your dad's headache, or your mom's curtains. When do we get to be important?" She left anyway. I sat at the table for another hour, ate my cold meal alone, and paid the bill for 2. That night, I did some soul-searching. I loved Sarah, but I couldn't sign up for a lifetime of this. I decided I needed to set a firm boundary. The next day, I went over to her apartment. I was calm but resolved. "Sarah, I love you," I began, "but I can't continue in a relationship where our time together is treated as disposable. I need one guaranteed, uninterrupted day with you per week. No family calls, no errands, just us. If that's not something you can agree to, then we have a serious problem." Her reaction was immediate and intense. She accused me of trying to control her, of trying to isolate her from the people who loved her most. I thought you were different, Mark. I thought you understood me. My family is everything to me. I'm not asking you to abandon them. I pleaded. I'm asking you to make a little space for us. She said she needed time to think. A day later, my phone rang. It was her mother, Barbara. I'd never given her my number. "Mark, this is Barbara," she said, her voice chilly and formal. "Sarah told me about your little demand. I have to say, I'm very disappointed. We welcomed you into our family, and this is how you repay us? By trying to keep our daughter away from us." I was stunned. "Barbara, with all due respect, this is a private matter between me and Sarah. I'm not keeping her from anyone. I'm just asking for one date night a week." "Nonsense," she snapped. "Family doesn't keep score. Family is there no matter what. Sarah has responsibilities. If you can't support that, then perhaps you're not the right fit for her." The call ended with her hanging up on me. When I confronted Sarah, she was not apologetic. "My mom is just worried about me. She thinks you're being manipulative." "And what do you think, Sarah?" I asked, my heart sinking. I think you're making me choose," she whispered, her eyes filling with tears. "And I don't know if I can choose you." She packed a bag and went to stay with her parents. For a week, we barely spoke. I was devastated, but a part of me was also furious. How had a simple request for a weekly date night turned me into the villain? When she finally came back, she seemed softer, more contrite. She said she'd missed me and that she wanted to try to find a balance. I was hopeful, maybe naively so. We spent a quiet weekend together, and for the first time in weeks, it felt like us again. Then, on Sunday evening, she was sorting her mail and a credit card statement fell out. I wasn't trying to look, but the numbers caught my eye. There was a recurring monthly payment of $1,500 to an account named R. Miller. My stomach twisted. "Sarah," I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral, "what's that payment to your dad for?" She froze, then snatched the paper off the floor. "It's nothing. It's just helping them out a little. Helping them out to the tune of $1,500 a month." I pressed, the pieces starting to click into place. "That's why you're always saying you're broke? That's why I pay for almost all our dinners, our trips, everything." It all came pouring out. She had been giving her parents half her salary ever since she got her current job. Her father, Robert, had taken a pay cut at his construction management job a few years back, and her mother's part-time work at a florist didn't cover much. They had a mortgage, 2 car payments, and were helping with the twins' tuition. Sarah, the responsible one, had volunteered to be their financial lifeline. "And your siblings? Do they contribute?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "Chloe has her own debts, and David has a family to support. The twins are in school. I'm in the best position to help," she said, as if reciting a mantra. "So you're subsidizing your entire family's lifestyle while I subsidize yours." The clarity of it was brutal. All those times I covered your share, I was essentially freeing up your money to send to your parents. I was funding them without even knowing it. She burst into tears. "It's not like that. They need me. You're supposed to support me, not attack me for helping my family." The fight that followed was explosive. I felt deceived and used. She felt judged and misunderstood. She couldn't see the difference between helping family and being financially exploited. She saw my anger as a lack of character, a proof that I didn't have the family values she required. We reached a tense, shaky truce. She promised she would talk to her parents about reducing the payments, especially if we were to move in together. I, foolishly, allowed myself a glimmer of hope. A week later, the summons came. Sarah said her parents wanted to have a family dinner to clear the air and welcome me properly. I was skeptical, but Sarah seemed genuinely optimistic, so I agreed. The dinner was at a bustling Italian restaurant. Barbara and Robert were there along with Chloe, David, his wife, and the twins. The atmosphere was unervingly friendly. Robert clapped me on the back. Barbara called me dear. It felt like a performance. Then the bill came. Robert slid it across the table to me with a broad smile. We thought since you're doing so well in tech, you could treat the family. Consider it your contribution. The bill was over $500. I looked at Sarah, who was studying her napkin intensely. I felt a hot flush of anger and humiliation. I paid it, not wanting to cause a scene in front of the whole family, but I was seething inside. In the car, I lost it. What the hell was that, Sarah? My contribution? Since when am I responsible for funding your family's nights out? Mark, calm down. They were just trying to include you. They see you as family now. This isn't inclusion. This is shakedown. I shot back. They found out I have money, and now they want a direct line to it. 2 days later, my suspicion was confirmed. Sarah mentioned that her parents were thinking of renting a beach house for a week in the summer, but it was a bit pricey. They were hoping maybe we could help out, since we'd be staying there too, she said casually. How much? I asked, my voice flat. Maybe $2,000 for our share. That's not a share, Sarah. That's the entire rental. They want me to pay for their vacation. I exploded. This has to stop. Now. The final confrontation happened at her parents' house. Sarah asked me to come over, saying we needed to talk as a family. It was an ambush. They were all seated in the living room like a tribunal. Robert started. Mark, we're concerned. Ever since you came into Sarah's life, she's changed. She's questioning us. She's talking about cutting back on the help she gives her own family. We think you're poisoning her against us. Barbara chimed in, her voice dripping with false concern. The Sarah we knew was selfless and loving. Now she's becoming selfish, influenced by your individualistic ideas. One by one, they piled on. David said I was controlling her finances. Chloe said I was making her neglect her family duties. The twins said I was weird for not wanting to hang out with them all the time. I tried to defend myself, to explain that partnership required transparency and shared priorities, but I was shouting into a hurricane. Their narrative was set. I was the outsider, the corrupting influence. Then Robert turned to Sarah, who was crying silently. Sweetheart, you need to decide. Are you part of this family, or are you choosing him? We can't have this division anymore. It's tearing us apart. The pressure was immense. I looked at Sarah, begging her with my eyes to see the manipulation, to stand up for us, for herself. She looked at her father, then at her weeping mother, then at her siblings' judgmental faces. Finally, her eyes met mine, filled with a profound sadness and a terrifying resignation. I can't lose my family, she whispered. It was like a physical blow. In that moment, I didn't just lose a girlfriend. I watched a person I loved willingly hand back the keys to her own life. She chose her gilded cage. I understand, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. I stood up and walked out of that house without looking back. The official breakup text came a day later. It was long and full of platitudes about love not being enough and how our values were too different. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. The irony is profound. They accused me of making her choose, but they were the ones who issued the ultimatum. They didn't want a son-in-law. They wanted a new source of revenue, and when I refused to play that part, they disposed of me. Sarah is lost to them, not because of me, but because she believes that love is synonymous with blind obedience and self-sacrifice. I loved her, but I couldn't save her from a family that loves the idea of her as their supporter more than they love the woman she actually is. I'm left with the ghost of what could have been and the painful lesson that sometimes love means walking away.